Joining me now is TV host and journalist Emily Schrader. Emily, there are deep divisions in the Democrat Party over President Biden's response to this conflict. Do Israelis still feel that the US has their back, that they've got them alongside them as they fight to eliminate Hamas?
Well, first of all, Rita, thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure to be here. In regard to what's going on in the United States and do Israelis actually feel that America has their back, I think the vast majority of Israelis feel that the American people have their back. But when it comes to the Biden administration, I think we've seen a sharp turn, and a turn that, quite frankly, is not surprising given this U.S. administration's foreign policy from day one on other states as well, be it Russia, China, or the Islamic Republic of Iran. There's been a very, very weak foreign policy from the Biden administration. And I'm not surprised at all to see that he's sort of kowtowing to the more extremist elements within the Democratic Party. Now, this is despite the fact, of course, that it's probably going to lose him the election. So he's pandering to people who really are not going to have his back, even electorally, in the long term.
Well, he does seem to be focused on domestic issues, even when making these calls on foreign policy. And we keep hearing about a two-state solution, a fantasy right now. But Douglas Murray, who will join me on the program tomorrow night, had this take on the two-state solution that is actually motivating Biden's decision-making.
He believes famously in a two-state solution, which is Minnesota and Michigan. And he's trying to please a few 100,000 people in America. I don't think he's going to please anyone.
Emily, do you agree with that so much of what we're seeing from the Biden administration is motivated by holding on to those couple of crucial states that have large Muslim populations who are very, very energised about this particular issue?
I think that is one of the problems that the Biden administration is facing, and one of their misjudgments in terms of policy. But I do think that the problem actually runs much deeper than that, because the policies that we've seen are being implemented by the people that Biden has hired. And the people that Biden has hired, including in the National Security Council, are people who have associations with Students for Justice in Palestine, have had associations with the Muslim Brotherhood, people who have had very, very weak policies of appeasement towards terrorist organizations, whether it's Hamas or the Islamic Republic of Iran itself. And this is the consistent trend that we have seen from this administration, a type of moral cowardice when it comes to dealing with not just the Israel-Hamas war, because that's only one element of the evil that we're facing today, but in terms of dealing with terrorist organizations as a whole across the entire world. We do need someone to be a moral authority on these issues. And frankly, I much prefer that it be the United States, for example, than, say, China or Russia or, God forbid, the Islamic Republic.
Yes. Well, the Australian government has been accused of supporting terrorism after voting for a United Nations resolution calling for the Security Council to admit Palestine as a member state. The decision has understandably outraged many here in Australia. We've had more than 70 years of bipartisanship before this, but what has the response been to this decision in Israel? Is there a sense of betrayal that a once staunch ally has voted with Israel's enemies?
I think that the statements of Penny Wong and the actions of Australia and the United Nations are very problematic. I do think there's a sense of betrayal on the ground here in Israel. Of course, Australia is not the only nation to sort of tiptoe around this issue and pay lip service to the Palestinian cause in perhaps ways that they really shouldn't be. I think that the fact we're even discussing a Palestinian state in the aftermath of October 7th, one of the biggest terrorist attacks we've ever seen, the highest number of Jews who have been killed since the Holocaust in one day, to respond to that by saying, oh, well, maybe we should talk about Palestinian statehood is insanity, especially when you're still dealing with a U.S. and European and many other countries designated terrorist organization in the Gaza Strip who is still in control after all the international pressure that's been placed on Israel to stop their actions, their defensive actions in a just and moral and legal war. It's outrageous. It's outrageous to be placing the responsibility on the state of Israel for this. The entire international community, including Australia, should be united against Hamas, and there should be no other discussion about a Palestinian state or negotiations or anything else until this Hamas terrorist organization is completely eliminated. They are unable to rule the Gaza Strip anymore, and all of the hostages they have taken are returned home. Instead, we hear endless chatter about the Palestinian cause and one state, two state, 20 states. I don't care about that. We don't care about that right now. What we care about is getting our hostages home. And that should be the priority for every single world leader as well. It's not even a political issue. You can support Palestinians and still support exactly what I said. In fact, you should. An actual pro-Palestinian policy is against Hamas. It's against Islamic Jihad. It's against the Islamic Republic. And it's actually supportive of the civilians who are not engaged with terrorism, which is not what we're seeing from the international community. We see the propping up of Hamas, including, unfortunately, by the U.S. administration. The only impact they're having by withholding some of these munitions that are more precise, by the way, that would actually prevent more civilian casualties, is that you're going to see more bloodshed as a result of that. This is a misguided policy from the U.S. administration, and it's a misguided approach from any of the nations, especially Western democratic nations who have historically been allies with Israel, like Australia, to use this war and this situation to somehow advance the issue of a Palestinian state, which is completely separate from what we see going on in the Gaza Strip right now.
Well said, Emily Schrader. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.